This is very much a trial. I'm doing it
Yep.
just because, like, it seems like the fun thing to do. And I'm gonna try doing my screen share right this time. I
And
completely did
yeah,
it wrong. You can see yourself in my screen. Okay, so hopefully that's better now.
when
Um,
I put something, if I come out of, if I go to a different tab now, do you lose me?
no, you want to try it?
No, it's just if I tab off, I'm on Google Hangouts now, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can still
okay.
see.
Yeah, feel free to tab out. I send you a Google Docs as well. If you are taking any notes, would you mind like just throwing that on the Google Docs?
I yeah, I've opened that and had a quick look at it.
Yeah, so this is the docs. I mean, that's the rough lesson plan. It's very rough, um, but I mean that's about it. I feel like we can get a lot done, or we can get very little done, just
Yeah,
depending.
people know be happy with the passport part because I see a lot on free camp people struggle with passport.
Oh my God, yeah, it's so hard.
Yourself,
We're
struggle.
probably we're probably not going to get to passport today because that's
Oh yeah,
fairly
no, definitely.
yeah okay. Um, so and yeah, I mean, let's see, I don't know if I can. Okay, I can have this small little window open over here, and I can see you, and I can see myself coding. So you can see my screen. Hopefully, I'm recording it, and then we'll just get started. Okay, so um, I've been messing around here. So okay, and then I'm just going to make an open. Actually, I'm just going to make a folder. So um, you're familiar with so far with all the Git stuff, right? Like, has that been confusing for you?
Well, I haven't done too much with Git. I can clone, I can create a repository and all that, but I haven't got overly much experience with it.
Yeah. Okay. So I've created I've created a repository here. It's blank, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is create React app. I've aliased that to CRA for myself. You can do whatever alias you want. I just I prefer not typing out so many letters. So it's CRA over here. I don't know how to make this too small. Is this better? Okay. I don't know.
Just looking at the writing on the screen on Google Hangouts is very. I have 3/4 of a section of a screen now, so it is kind of very small. So
Okay. I don't know how to make this bigger, but anyway, whatever. I'm running create React app. It's not very fancy. Let me see if I can increase the size of the screen. Okay, it's Apple Plus. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
that's better.
Okay. Let's see. How do I? Okay. So I have a blank folder here. I'm gonna do CRA. Okay. So let's look at the. Okay. Let me just think about this. All right. So this is what we want to eventually get to, right? One folder with the client, with all the results of the create React app, and then one folder with the server, and with all the results of all the other stuff. So instead of starting with CRA, I'm just going to start you off with npm init. And how familiar are you with npm?
You want the package.json packages, is it?
Yes. So npm init only basically just adds package.json for you. If you do, yeah, if you do, what am I about to say? If you do npm init like this, you're just gonna get a whole bunch of questions like, yes, whatever, John's awesome. Exactly, and you can decide on the version if you want. You can decide some description here, all that good stuff. If you want to skip all that, you can just pass in -y, and it's just going to answer yes to everything, and it's just going to give you the default options for all of these.
The npm not actually for the package.json. I would think you had the package.json with all the stuff in it already you wanted to install. So you're doing it literally from scratch there.
Exactly. I literally just started from scratch. So this is how my folder looks right now. It just has one package.json in it. So this is my folder. Yeah.
I'm with you.
So okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start having a bunch of things on the server and the client side. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is CRA client. So that runs create React app, right? In a folder called client. And this is, you should be familiar with this if you already tried out create React app.
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully this won't take too long. I have a relatively recent install, so it's just linking things for me. So one thing, while we're talking, one thing that's going on here that may not be obvious is it's using Yarn instead of NPM. So sometimes
difference. I was using NPM. I have never used Yarn. It's not on my computer yet.
Sure. Go ahead and install it, people. It's the recommended version. It's the recommended thing now. And basically, what happens is that NPM is a company that manages all the JavaScript repositories in the world, and they created the NPM client that you have, right? But they made some initial choices that Facebook did not agree with. So Facebook went ahead and created their own version of their own command line thing called Yarn on top of NPM that has better defaults. For example, it caches stuff that you have requested before, and it downloads things in parallel. All of which just means it's NPM but faster. That's what Yarn.
So you're saying I should globally install Yarn on my computer then?
Yeah. Yes, but you're gonna, at the end of the day, you're just gonna run into situations where you should have a rough idea of the difference between the two. Yarn is better for most situations, except for when you're working with other people who don't use Yarn, so you have to downgrade to NPM. Whatever. It's not that much of it's not that a big a deal, right? But while this thing was installing, I figured I should just fill the space with some talking. So I've just run create React app, and what you see here is now my folder has two things: the package.json and the client, right? And if I cd into the client and I do yarn start, that should run the create React app as you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Hopefully this always takes very long. I don't like it.
Yeah, it takes me, like, if I run create React app now to get the server up or page up, it takes a minute or two to.
Yeah.
It'll tell me it's at localhost, but it takes about a minute before you can actually see it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we both know what to expect here, right? So this is not too much of a big shock. So good. Okay. One thing I want to start establishing as well. So I'm going to open this up in VS Code here, and so this is literally our folder right now. We've installed package.json and then we've done the client. And I'm also going to start doing. So I'm using a bunch of keyboard shortcuts. You can't see me pressing the keyboard, but hopefully if you're using VS Code, you know how to bring up the terminal. It's just Control backtick. Yeah, exactly. So I can start operating within here, and I don't really have to use my iTerm2 anymore. Whatever. Okay, so we got the terminal here. We got the client. One thing I wanted to start doing with you is just a little bit of React, just to warm you up. So if I do yarn start over here, it's the same thing, but we're just going to mess with the directories a little bit. So here's all the public stuff that's going to be served. Here's all the JavaScript, right? It enters with index.js, right? And it exports, and the real source of the app is in app.js.
I'm comfortable with all that, so that's grand anyway.
Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to implement Clementine.js so Clementine.js basically has this is what we're trying to update, right? Like this is the old version, and basically what they have is a clicker. I don't know where beginner app. So this is how they look. Where they have a thing, and then you click it, and it just counts up, and you can reset it, right? So how to quickly do that with this over here? I'm just going to go ahead and code, and then when I'm done, you can ask me questions. So I guess we're just going to call this SunburstJS. I'm going to have state equals the counter. I'm going to start this at 0, and then I'm going to have the click handler equals to, and that's an arrow function from ES6. And this is just going to give me set state counter counter this dot state dot counter plus 1. So, and then I'm going to put 2 buttons here. Button on click equals this dot state this dot click handler click me over here, and then I'm going to have a reset handler. This is a one-liner function, so I can reduce it like that. And then I'll just have a reset handler, and I'll set the counter to 0. Over here, and that's it. So I just hit save. It's recompiling. That's hot module reloading, and that's SunburstJS. Oh, one thing I forgot to do is actually display the value of the counter. So let's go ahead and do that. So this dot state dot counter. There we go. So now it's 0, and I'm going to click, and I can reset. That all makes sense? Is this familiar? Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are not used to this style of React. This is the most modern style. So I figured I might as well squeeze that in there just to see where you're at. One thing, so
yeah, see, I have the added benefit now, but I've
exactly
done a week.
Yeah,
React
perfect.
Anyway, so
honestly, like you're the perfect. I don't know how you found me. Like I just posted, like, hey, I'm looking for someone to do this with, and then you're the perfect guy to do this with because it's so fresh for you.
Yeah, because the React part is fine. I have to go for the router. They changed the router to version 4 v4, so I don't know anything about that yet. But I knew I'm going to have to create React with a backend server, and that I knew was going to be a problem. So I said, yeah, this would be perfect.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's try and get there. So I just want to show you that when I click, nothing's going to the network, right? This is the developer tab, and on the network tab, nothing's going through. And I reset, nothing's going through. If I click, up to 9, and if I reload, it's going to forget that because all the state's local, right? So that's the problem that we're going to have to fix with the backend, the persistent backend. Anyway, so that's all good. So we've all set up React. I'm going to go back out now to the main app, and now we're going to talk about the server. So let's talk about this. Let's have a server. Let's go into the server. Oh, let's go touch server index.js. That creates a file called index.js. And in the server, what we're going to have is we're going to use a whole bunch of these dependencies. So I think the main one that I want to show you is Express. I don't really need anything else, I guess. Okay, so I'll show you Express. So how are you on Express as well?
All that part, yeah, I'm all familiar with the Express part and setting up that server, so that page is okay for me.
Okay, I'll skip ahead. I'll just do a bunch of typing, and you should be fine with that. This is good. Okay, so I just expanded the font size, so it's easier to see. And of course, just correct me if I'm making a mistake. So I'm not using Yarn here. I'm using npm. I could use Yarn. I could use npm. I don't really care. Just want to point that out to you. So I'm installing npm on the main repo, like the top level. And this is kind of key. Like this is how we're choosing to organize, right? We have a server. The overall repo has the server folder and has the client folder. The client folder has no idea that it's running inside of this other stuff, but the parent can go into the client as it chooses to, and that's how you get the client and the parent to start working together. More concretely, I'm just going to go. So how you sort of invoke Express is going to. I'm just going to copy over all this stuff. It's not really helpful. So blah, blah, blah.
Why were you close the folder if I'm talking about the code, because I'm only getting a little bit of code there.
What's that? I didn't hear you.
The side showing all the file layout takes up too much space. I wasn't really seeing any of the code, like so.
Oh, okay. I can close it.
Yeah, better.
Okay. So this is a basic Express server, right? And so what happens if I run node server, that's going to run. Oops. It doesn't have port. I'm giving a default port of 5000, but I can override it if I specify process.env port. So it's now listening on port 5000, and if I go to localhost 5000 API hello, it's going to say hello from Express over here. So that's what's going on. Hopefully I don't have my thing running over here. Okay. So yeah, so I've set up the server now, and what so right now I have a working server and I have a working client, but they don't talk to each other. And the key here that I need to do is to have them talking to each other. So what we're going to do is mess around with the package JSON. So a lot of things that go on with the scripts in here is actually what we're able to do. Let's see if I can explain this in a nice way. So basically, I can run node server and it has the server, and I can run yarn start in the client and it runs create React app. But what I really need to do is run both together and have them talk. Essentially, what that means for me is I need to put in a whole bunch of scripts. So here's the shortcut for doing a client. So basically, it says cd into the client folder and hit and do yarn start, and that's and then from the server, it says node mon server. So node. Do you know the difference between node and node mon?
No.
Okay, so node runs it once, and node mon runs it. Node mon restarts the server whenever something is changed. So let me show you how that goes.
Oh yeah.
You understand?
Now. Yeah. Okay. Node mon, does that need to be installed globally on your computer?
Yes.
I had that problem. Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, no problems. So these are things that you just build over time. If you want, you can actually install it as a dev dependency over here. And it will just be local, but you might as well just have it globally because it's a very commonly used package. Okay, so let's see. So I have my dev client and dev server. What I really need to do now is run them concurrently. So I'm going to install a dev dependency called concurrently, and that's going to run both together at the same time. So npm I minus save dev concurrently. Then I'm just going to copy the script. So these scripts are, hopefully, I still don't feel like super comfortable with them, but basically you can just like build in shortcuts to run whatever the hell you want, including running two things at the same time. So hopefully, oh shit, okay. I think I need to. There we go. Okay, so I've installed concurrently and I've defined a again, I'm going to close this. I've installed concurrently and I've defined a script that runs two other scripts That's it. So now when I run npm run dev, it runs the dev script, which then runs these two other scripts, the dev server script and the nodemon servers, and the CRA script. So it's launching the client as well as running the server at the same time. So this is the client loading. You see localhost 3000. That's where the client is, and then this is the server where the it's on localhost 5000. Just to show you nodemon working in action, if I go to the server, right, and if I change this file, for example, 123, and if I save this, I'm going to restart due to changes because I got nodemon running. And if I hit this API again, it's going to reflect that change for me. That's all very clear, right?
Yes, yeah. And as it changed in the React app as well.
Well, I haven't connected the two. Basically, all we're doing now is we're having both create React app and the server running at the same time. Okay, so
my mistake, because I was just because I have it on the system. I was like, I'm kind of ahead of you.
Sure. Okay. Cool. So now what we I want to basically pull from the client, pull from my server into the client, and this is where is the tricky bit. We're going to actually go into the package JSON of the client and define a proxy. So notice how we have localhost on 3000 and localhost on 5000 for the client and for the server. They're on just different ports, and that's basically how you run two processes at once on a server. And so basically, you need this guy to listen to this guy, right? And how you do that is basically you go into client, and they have the package JSON over here. I'm just gonna kill this process, by the way. And then you just define a proxy. But this listens to this proxy is all its requests to localhost 5000 as well. So now when I run this again, nothing's going to change. But when I do a fetch, so let's just say I want to console log fetch. What's the format of the fetch? I keep forgetting. Slash API slash hello. API slash hello. I guess it's a it's a asynchronous function. Fetch is an asynchronous function, so I actually need to wrap this in a callback, I guess. So here, let's just put this in a CDM. Fetch, and then let's just do response. How are you okay with the fetch API?
Yeah, I used it in the view, so I need to get a bit more practice, to get into the head totally.
So so when a component mounts, I've actually made it. So this is we're on the client now, but I've just requested from the client to some stuff from my server. This is the route API slash hello, and I fetched from API slash hello. I've requested the JSON format of it, and I console logged it up. So now my client is able to access from the server, and that's great. So let's kind of stick this in somewhere nice. Whatever. Let's see. So result is dot set state. Hello result. Okay, and then message. Right. Naming things is hard, so I should try not to be so sloppy when I name. Message from the server. So this is what you'll see over here. You should say message from the server and then whatever the server. Oh, what have I done? The message from the server is an object. This.state.message is an object. So I need to make this a string. There we go. So this is from the server. Obviously, if I just want you know, I know this is an object, but if I just want the string, I can just go for that specific key in that object, and that will also work. There we go. That all make sense?
There we go. That all makes sense. I'm okay with that part.
Cool. I think that's like the basic that's the basic trick from in terms of linking the server and the. It's not that hard, right?
Oh, yeah, because as I said, because I have a bit of experience in it.
Yeah.
So, fine. It's just a matter of now trying to get it working on my side.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we just went through all of that. We want to deploy. Okay. You know, I think people always these tutorials always forget about deploying, and I think that's pretty much one of the hardest things to deploy. So I want to make sure to also include that in this tutorial. So one thing that we've been doing here is we've been working in development mode, right? That's why we have Create React app running, as well as the server running in NodeMon. But when we're deploying it in production, we're not going to change the server, and we're not going to want to run this separate process again. So that's why we have a separate process for deploying, I guess. So let me refer to my source here. And this is So this is what we're doing here. So Create React app has a process for building. So do you know what building is for Create React app?
Yeah, it gets all the files together and gets rid of anything that's not needed, and
exactly, and it creates a build folder, right? So I'm just I'm inside the client folder now, and I'm just gonna call yarn run build, and you should see a build folder pop out after it sort of processes all this stuff, and it just strips out everything that's only used in development time. Wow, that was quick. Holy crap, that was really quick. Okay, so this is the build file. and everything's static here. So everything is minified into one super small line. The JavaScript that we wrote is all in this very ugly format. It's not meant for human eyes, but it's very, very anorexic, so that it will be fast when you send it out to people. So we've built this thing now, right? And that's what this top level script I've defined. It just says CD client and yarn build, right? So when I'm at the top level, right now, and I say npm run build, it's going to go into my client folder, and then it's going to do yarn build. That's what we just did manually. But I also need to deploy this. So what am I doing here? Actually, that's all I need to deploy. So I have a folder called client/build, and it's got all the stuff I want. All this stuff is actually not relevant during my deployment phase. But what I need my server to do is to start serving the client files that I've built. And what I'm going to use to do that is some more Express magic. I can never remember. So honestly, I just always copy and paste this stuff. And
same as
exactly. So you just want to copy this line that says app.use express.static path.join dir name client build. So so you configure your Express server to just serve up static files as long as they match anything in client/build. So that's it. That's I'm gonna git init as well, just to establish a Git history, and I'm gonna git commit all the stuff that we've done so far. So basic, full stack, CRA plus Node Express setup. It's good habit, by the way, when you're learning. I think I made a mistake just now. Okay, so one thing I made a mistake. It's good habit, by the way, to practice Git processes, especially when you're learning, because this is essential when you work. Sorry?
It's a hard habit to get in. It's a hard habit for me to get into is using it.
Exactly. So what you saw me do just now, I hit git init, right? And then I said, this is my alias, by the way. Git, this doesn't exist in your computer. I just defined it for myself. This is basically says git at dot and git commit, and then it has this message. By the way, do you know how to do aliases?
Do I know how to do what? What?
Aliases? Git alias?
No.
Okay, so you just go into any part of your terminal and you just do vi / and then based on whatever shell you're using. I'm using ZSH, so I have ZSHRC, but you may have bash RC, and if you have Windows, I don't know what you use, but something like just look.
So.
Right. So just look for git aliases. That's what you're looking for. This is all the mumbo jumbo. I don't know what this means, but these are all the things. These are all the shortcuts I've defined for myself, right? So when I want to create React app, instead of typing all those letters, I just type CRA, right? It's pretty handy. If I want to git add dot and git commit, I just say git admit, right? So these are all the shortcuts that you're gonna see me use. One very funny one is fucking for sudo. So so it just forces you to do it. Anyway, whatever. Let me quit now. Okay, so that's not important. Okay, so what you just saw me do there, I said git init and then I git admit, but it was taking a while to commit the files. And what happened was because I didn't have a git ignore node modules folder, so it's committing all my node modules to my git history, and that's a bad idea. So let's see. So I'm gonna git admit forgot git ignore. So now my Git branch is free. Has committed all the work that we've done so far. Okay, so what are we going to do now? We're going to serve this on Heroku. Okay, so let me see. In order to serve on Heroku, we're going to also need a start script, because Heroku expects to have a start script. Heroku has a few requirements that might trip you up if you're not very careful, or if you don't sort of read all their documents, which is a lot. And the two things to remember is they need a start script. They need you to tell them where to start. So we're going to tell them, all right, run node, and then run server, and server, because it's a folder, they're going to look for index.js, and that's where they start. The second thing that they are looking for is they want to provide you their own port. So they're only going to look for process. They're going to supply a process.env port. I don't think I have the spelling of that right, so let me double check. It's all caps. So these are all very, very important things that Heroku demands that you have set up, so that they can fit you in. But apart from that, that's about it. So notice how I actually don't care about port 5000 anymore. And my client, remember how we set up the proxy over here? I don't care. Why do I not care? It's because I already built everything to my build file over here. So that's I no longer have a separate server running create React app for me, rebuilding things as I go along. Because right now I'm shifting towards production, right? So that's what's going on over here. Okay, so I think we're about all set. I'm being extremely careful about this just because I'm a little nervous while presenting it to you. Usually I do this just by myself, So Heroku login. I think so if the good thing is you have experience with Heroku, so I don't have to explain a lot of this. I'm just checking if I have. I logged into Heroku like 2 days ago, so is this gonna let me log in or okay?
I haven't logged in now in a couple of months, so that's the worst part. You have to go back over and remember how you did it in the first place. And
yeah. So I'm trying. I'm showing you. You type Heroku login, then it gives you. You type your credentials.
Yeah. I typed it down in a notepad.
Right.
Just to remember how things work out for a couple of months.
And I literally just forgot. Do you know what happens next? I just forgot. You know what happens next?
Wow.
I'm referring. I have my own blog. So I'm referring to my past blogs. This is not okay. Here we go. There we go. Blah blah blah. Heroku create. There we go. Okay, so you type Heroku create. Exactly. Like have your own blog, right? So that you can talk to your future self and help yourself, right? So Heroku is like set up a thing for us. And all we need to do is git push Heroku master, and it's going to push everything that we've just put in our Git directory, I guess, or a Git master branch.
I thought you'd be looking for more now.
What's that?
With React, I thought you'd be looking for more when you're using something like React. Now, I didn't think it'd be more or less the same as pushing a site that hasn't got a framework.
Right. So you're familiar with this, right?
Yeah, because I pushed the normal, like I did a voting app with no framework, and it's on Heroku.
Yeah. It's Heroku's good at that, but I think that's why I want to do this tutorial, like to give all the missing pieces. Anyway, once it's done, you can actually just type Heroku open, and it's going to open it up in your browser, whatever this auto-assigned URL is. Oh, there's an error. What's the error? Missing start script. Really? I did a start script. Okay, so if I forgot to commit the start script, so forgot. You always have to commit, right? To commit start script, and then so git push Heroku master is my shortcut GPHM. So if you see what Heroku is doing here, it's actually a lot of very interesting stuff. You push Git. Heroku doesn't know you're doing JavaScript, but it detects Node.js app because it looks at package JSON, right? And then it configures all these variables, all of which you're not using, except for I guess Node and production. This is a very commonly used one. And then you can do all these. You can do a bunch of options. For example, you can tell Heroku, oh, okay, I want to run on Node version 8 plus. In this case, we're just using their default version. So there's a lot of output here that you can actually tell. That's fairly interesting. Okay, so blah blah blah, and we are back here again. I'm going to do Heroku open, and hopefully it works. Ah, come on. Heroku logs. Let's see. Why does it crash again? Okay. You see this thing over here? So path is not defined, and that's because I was copying and pasting code without testing it. It's probably a bad idea, but I was kind of rushing. So over here, this thing from path. Path is a module that you have to take from Node itself. It's an inbuilt module that you don't have to npm install. It just comes with Node. So that's one thing that I forgot. Hopefully it's helpful for you to see me screwing up.
I do it all the time. I say everybody out there does it.
Yeah, but especially like I know when I first started dealing with Heroku, I would just get all these crashes, and I would be like, what the fuck's happening here? So it is a process of.
I'm looking to say now, my dealings with Heroku went smoothly, thank God.
Well, you should embrace all these problems because they're going to help you get ahead. Okay, what now? I cannot get slash. Okay, so I'm forgetting something else here as well. Let's see what that is. Okay, I've got build. Okay, so right now I don't have. So one thing that I have not committed is the build. So when I build stuff over here, I actually am git ignoring it. So create React app by default disables it ignores the build folder because the best practice really is for you to rebuild it every time. But in this case, we want to actually build. We want to actually serve the build. So I'm going to comment this part out. And that's going to change my git tracking over here. So it's going to say, see, I changed the git ignore. I commented out the client's git ignore, and I commented this build part out and say I want to include this in my git, right? So I'm going to git add build folder. That's adding all the stuff in the build folder, and now I'm going to push it to Heroku again. So I mean, unfortunately, I'm not perfect. These are all the mistakes that I make, but hopefully, you can see the logic behind all these mistakes, and it's helping me sort of teach as well.
I don't know how you cop that one though.
Exactly. Cool. All right, one more time. 4 times the charm, right? Hey. So we have a running server as well as a running create React app. And that's about it. So one thing to see here as well, it's always fun to actually use the developer tab so you can see what's going on. So when you hit this URL, it's sending you the document. This is an HTML, right? How do I show you what's? Okay, there's normally a way to show you the contents of this. Okay. So this is the HTML. So the HTML imports some CSS, right, and some JavaScript over here, right? So with the HTML,
yeah,
the browser is going to call the CSS. It's going to download all the CSS that we auto-generated. It's also going to call the JavaScript, all the JavaScript that we generated, right? And that's about it. And then it's going to call the API because within the JavaScript, right, we told it to ping /API. And this is the response. This is the fetch request that we just did, right? That's this thing happening over here. It's going to be really explicit. So when we told it to fetch API/hello, that's what's going on over here. Fetch API/hello, and then our working server responds with express hello from express123, and then our React does all this. You can ignore these two as this is from my Chrome extension, and this is from a service worker, which comes bundled with Create React app. Anyway, so that's a working React and Express deployed version all the way until that. According to our lesson plan, I think we got the first 3 things done. Do you have any questions so far? Do you
feel I understand all that. That
yeah.
For me is all fine. It's just, what do I do when I have a problem getting it to work on my side?
What does that mean, getting to work on your side?
You did, but when I have it installed on my computer, and I get the server all right, but I'm not getting the click buttons or the sunburst or the 0 there. I'm getting the message from server hello from Express on localhost 5000.
Yeah, I understand, because that's I responded to you. That's because you were. Let me show you what. I know exactly what you're talking about. So when you tried this out on your own, you were doing. So I'm going to do npm run dev.
Started.
It's fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter. So I know exactly what you're doing. So you were going. So this is localhost, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were doing localhost 5,000.
Yeah.
Slash API slash hello. I think that's what you're doing. Actually, now I'm not sure what you're doing.
I'll make it more clearer in the notes. It's just
okay.
I'm just wondering, did I set up wrong?
Whatever it is, you should be careful about which which port you're addressing, and then at the end of the day, this is only development because at the end of the day, you're gonna deploy it with a single server anyway.
Yeah.
So that's that. How are you feeling? Do you wanna do you wanna call it for our first session and then we'll continue with Mongoose next time?
We're in a lot there now for people watching the first video, so.
Exactly. Yeah, that's like a very basic setup.
Like for someone who has experience, this is fine. But for someone this is their first time, there's an awful lot there to try and take in. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I
awesome.
found that part all clear to me now. So there's nothing. There wasn't anything much there now that I wouldn't understand. But I say someone who's just starting to do this for the first time.
Yeah.
That would be an awful lot for them to take in, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna ask you to also just try this on your own. Just literally going from empty folder. Don't clone my thing. Just do your own folder.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's fine.
Make sure you completely
do
understand
it from
all this.
scratch. So.
Exactly. Cool.
Yeah.
So I think the next time around we're going to do Mongoose and deploy that as well. So that's going to be a whole thing. We can make as much of that as we want. And then we'll start talking about router. I mean, I honestly, I'm not really sure what order to do these in. We could do router first, or we could do Redux.
We'll get to the fun part now, because you'll get into the parts where I don't have much knowledge with React.js. Like I know a bit of Redux because I was doing that over the weekend.
Yeah.
I'm okay with Passport and Express, but
the
React router I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
With Vue now, I know what we're going to be. I know how kind of be similar to something that was in Vue, all right.
Mm-hmm.
But sure, and then Nux.js just got rid of routing more or less. So it's kind of going to be strange now back to having a router in React.
Whatever it is, like you should definitely, like, Nux is important and Vue is growing as well. But you should definitely know React and how React does routing. So okay.
I have no idea what this admin GraphQL Apollo is.
Yeah, so don't worry about it. That's because that's a new technology that got popular last year. So I'm kind of doing that for the more advanced people who want to figure out how to implement that in their own apps. But we'll focus on exactly. Yeah, we'll get you there. So we'll focus on React Router, and then I'll put in Redux and Passport because I think I need more practice at this as well. And then by then we should be like, this will take a lot of work. This is a lot easier in comparison. So the bullet points don't have the same weight. But cool. Yeah, I think we can call it. Thanks so much for joining me in this thing. It's been fun.
No problem. Look forward to the next one. And
all right. Get some practice.
Hopefully I have it up and running by the time we do it the next session.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully tomorrow, if the timing works for it, we'll try to aim for your morning. If not, your afternoon, which just is fine for me. Yeah. Cool.
Perfect. That's afternoon now. Tomorrow, I have the time, but it's going to be a bit more cramped.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna stop the screen share, and I think that's it for our broadcast. So I'm gonna stop that as well. Bye.